What's up, guys? Welcome to another chapter discussion. We got a wild one this week since chapter 264 and our boy Yuji have given much to talk about, and that's putting it lightly. I'm not gonna lie, I'm hype as hell, so let's just talk about it. The chapter begins and we quickly see Sukuna punching the ground under his feet right before getting hit with Jacob's ladder. As Sukuna begins to use the large chunks of ascending rubble to make his way to Hana and Angel, thinking that because this isn't a guaranteed hit like in Yuta's domain, then Yuji and Todo can be affected as well. Because of this, he believes he can climb his way up unbothered, and notices that the current output of Jacob's ladder is nowhere near as much as the first time, but only after he appears behind Hana charging up a black flash. Sukuna understands that because Hana coexists with Angel but has no strength as a sorcerer, that she is fully dependent on Angel's CT, and having lost an arm only makes that clearer, and he insists that before he is torn from Megumi, he'll take their life. However, Todo really the GOAT because he jumps in front of Hana, protecting her and gets hit with another black flash. Sukuna really gives him his respect before landing it too, saying Todo is without a doubt a Jujutsu sorcerer. Which is fire and interesting because it's the first time I think we see Sukuna giving props to someone for risking themselves for someone else. Since, it's usually the type of thing he finds boring or whatever. But it's Todo, and he really jumped in front of a black flash willingly, so man, I'd be impressed too if I was Sukuna. Anyways, the clash is epic and results in Todo and Angel lying on the ground with everything destroyed around them. Sukuna notices that they can't move and believes that he can come back to kill off Angel later. He focuses on Yuji now, but bro didn't realize that he already chased him all the way up, and gets hit with a straight right from Yuji as he pushes the action, then grabbing Sukuna by both ankles and slamming him like 8 floors down a building. Yuji presses Sukuna with a move similar to Sukuna's spider web, the ground cleave he used against Yuji and Maki when he had just taken over Megumi's body. Which, it's cool to see Yuji pull off something after seeing it once from Sukuna. But Sukuna's snaky ass is able to avoid it by getting on one hand. And get this, he then fires off slashes and hops back to his feet with that same hand. Yuji's able to barely dodge the slashes, but behind them came a punch from Sukuna. A punch that, when you look closely, you can see that has just regenerated, proved by the veins. It's not a regular punch either, but a black flash. Bro literally regained his RCT and healed his arms right before the black flash even landed, which is crazy. This is followed up by a cold ass panel of Sukuna fully healed again. I'm talking stomach mouth back, 2-eyed half face mask intact and all. Not gonna lie, dude looks clean. Moving on from the glaze, Sukuna goes on the offensive again and gets confident, believing that he doesn't have to make the same risky moves that Gojo did. He's probably alluding to the fact that he doesn't have to take crazy gambles to avoid Yuji's slashes in the same way that Gojo had to avoid Sukuna's own slashes. At least that's how I see it. Yuji isn't able to hold off Sukuna and gets punched with Sukuna's 2 right fists and kneed in the face as he's going down. Sukuna's thinking that at the moment, all he needs to do is wait for his CT to recover, since Yuji's no real threat. And this is really just to let us know that after the 2 black flashes, Sukuna was only able to get back his reversed curse technique, and not his actual CT, due to how bad of a state he was, and on top of that, the burnout from the last domain. From the ground, Yuji's able to send more slashes towards Sukuna, breaking his footing. He rushes, trying to catch Sukuna with another dismantle that only targets the barrier between his and Megumi's soul. But Sukuna evades it, recognizing that even though his technique is lethal to an incarnated sorcerer like himself, if it doesn't land, it's meaningless. And he smacks Yuji to the side, just like he did a couple of chapters back when Yuta came back in Gojo's body. Except this time, Yuji stays on his feet, wiping the blood off of his face as Sukuna's eyes open wide. And we cut to a quick flashback of Gojo. It's actually his fight with Jogo from early in the story when he brought Yuji along to teach him about domain expansions. And you already know exactly what's about to go down. Yuji specifically recalls when Gojo said that a domain expansion grants a stat boost similar to a buff in video games due to the change in environment. But also, and more importantly, that cursed techniques imbued within a domain are guaranteed to hit. And back in the present, Yuji opens his domain expansion, as the narrator states that through switch training with Kusakabe, Yuji Itadori learned the fundamentals of barrier techniques. This is where things get really crazy though. The next panel we immediately get is a close-up of Sukuna, but in Yuji's body, and he's in a train station with Yuji. Sukuna's as lost as we are because he asks, "What is this?" and his face says it all. But in the last page of the chapter, Yuji encourages him, saying, "Come on, Sukuna, let's go." And the way the whole page is illustrated is a direct reference to when Gojo finds himself in the airport with Geto after death, which is interesting, to say the least. So then, what does it all mean? Well, before anything else, shout out Yuji, man. Bro really is different, and I'm glad people are finally putting respect on his name. Going forward, I want to start by highlighting that Yuji's hand sign, or mudra, is that of Shirigarba, about a sattva who led others down a path of enlightenment. This very much goes in line with everything we know about Yuji, and it really does look like this is a different type of domain, in the sense that it might function differently from most with strict rules enforced, similar to Higuruma's domain expansion or the domain of that one sumo wrestler who faced off against Maki. I mean, they're in a train station, which, by the way, is insane when you look at the first anime opening. And all I'm gonna say is, Gege really has had a lot of this planned for a long time. The foreshadowing is really next level. But yeah, fans were able to identify that this is a real train station in Japan, called the Kitakami Station in the Iwate Prefecture, though I'm not sure how much we can take away from that right now. The editor's note states that the decisive one-on-one heads into an uncharted domain. It's worth wondering if this is actually Yuji's innate domain or if something weirder is going on here. Yuji never said the name of his domain expansion either, though we could just get that next chapter. But it is in Yuji's best interest that this doesn't turn into a typical clash of domains between him and Sukuna. I do believe that Yuji has pulled Sukuna into his innate domain here. In fact, I believe there's a chance that this means that Yuji has just successfully split Megumi from Sukuna, and that Megumi's back off-screen in the same way that Gojo was killed off-screen, which would explain the parallel and why Sukuna is in his Yuji form. That could also mean that Yuji has just taken him back in his body. The rematch from when they first fought in Sukuna's innate domain could also take place soon, and it would be a nice callback. Some people have also suggested that Yuji and Sukuna are gonna walk through some memories or something on some AOT type shit, which as a huge fan of AOT would be awesome to see. Maybe we finally get the full origin story. All I know is Yuji's about to do something crazy. I don't think he'll talk no jutsu Sukuna, but I do think that their conversation will change everything. There's no redeeming Sukuna, but there is saving Megumi. And thinking about what I brought up earlier about the mudra, I wonder if Yuji's domain alludes more to him bringing Megumi back or finally leading Sukuna down a path of regret. Maybe it's both. But switching gears real quick, I do wonder about Yuta and his time left. There's a good chance that time isn't really passing in the same way in this domain, allowing us to go back to him before the 5 minutes are up. But I got a feeling that Gege has something else up his sleeve. I mean, that or Yuta's really just dead for real. Quick shout out to Todo though. That dude is a heavy hitter. It really sucks that Jacob's Ladder was so nerfed this time around. I wasn't really a fan of that since it kinda makes Yuta's whole speech about having two of the same card in the same hand really fall flat when you think about it. But maybe Angel isn't done. Todo did save them, so maybe we'll see some consequences of Jacob's Ladder come into play in this new domain. Hopefully we find out next chapter. Personally, it's the train station and the fact that it's Yuji Kuna and not Sukuna's current form that has me intrigued the most. I know we're in for something huge. But that's all from me today. Let me know your thoughts on the chapter below. What do you think Yuji's domain actually does? Do you think Sukuna's already dead? Leave a comment. Thanks for sticking around. Stay tuned for more JJK content. Much love and take care. Peace.